He took a night shift job for his stepson's braces. Then they laughed at him while he slept on the couch. Nathan gave everything, his time, his health, his money, to support the woman he loved and her son. He worked 2 jobs, paid every bill, and never once complained. But when the people he sacrificed for turned on him in the most humiliating way possible, something in him snapped. He didn't yell. He didn't fight. He vanished, with a plan. And just when they thought he was gone for good, the truth came crashing down. But what he discovered after he left, that's the part you'll never see coming. I never thought I'd end up here, sleeping 4 hours a night, juggling 2 jobs, and still being treated like I was nothing. My name's Nathan. I'm 38, and until recently, I believed love meant sacrifice. It's how I ended up working graveyard shifts at a warehouse just to afford braces for a kid who wasn't even mine by blood. Not that I ever treated him like anything less. 3 years ago, I met Marissa at a friend's backyard barbecue. She was freshly divorced, worn down by life, and had this quiet sadness that drew me in like a magnet. She had a son, Julian, 11 at the time. Quiet, observant. Didn't say much, but you could tell he was smart. We hit it off. Fast. Too fast, according to my buddy Eric. You're rushing into this, he warned me. But I didn't care. I wanted to give them a better life, to be the man she could count on. 8 months later, we were married. I moved into their modest rental, and in the beginning, everything felt decent. Julian didn't warm up to me right away, but that's normal with stepkids. I figured time and effort would bridge the gap. So I made an effort. Drove him to soccer. Helped with math homework. Celebrated his wins. Comforted his losses. I even started a college fund, $300 a month, despite my tight budget. I wanted to prove that I was in this for the long haul. Marissa, now 36, seemed to appreciate it, at first. But little things started to shift. She'd forget to transfer money for shared bills, leaving me to cover them. Julian only spoke to me when he needed something. It was subtle at first, but undeniable. Still, I kept justifying it to myself. They'd been on their own before me. Maybe this was just them adjusting. But the takeout nights hurt. I'd come home to empty cartons and laughter, and not even a thought to save me a plate when I was paying for the food. Or when Marissa casually volunteered my money for school fees, or new cleats, or some last-minute emergency. I never even got asked. So I picked up overtime. Then added a second job, overnight stocking shelves. My days became a blur of exhaustion. Work, nap, work, collapse. I barely saw daylight. Missed Julian's games. Missed myself. Then came the braces. The orthodontist quoted $2,500 upfront and $180 every month. Insurance didn't help. Marissa just looked at me, expectant, like it wasn't even a question. So I said yes. Because how could I not? I wasn't going to let the kid go through life feeling self-conscious. I took the night shift the next day. 40 hours at my main job, 25 more overnight. Came home at 3 a.m., slept 4 hours, then got up and did it again. Every damn day. No thank you. No appreciation. Just more eye rolls. More cold shoulders. Whispered conversations that stopped when I entered a room. Then, last week, everything snapped. It was a regular school morning. I'd just paid bills, drained my check again, and was driving Julian to school in the car I make payments on. I tried making small talk. Asked about an upcoming test. Just trying to stay connected. He grunted. Classic teenage mood, I figured. We pulled up to the school, and as he got out, he slammed the car door so hard the whole frame shook. I rolled down the window, ready to call him out on it. But he turned, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You're just some pathetic guy my mom settled for. You'll never be my dad." I froze. My heart dropped. And there, right behind him, stood Marissa. Her sister had driven her to school because Julian forgot his science project. She was smirking, arms crossed, like she'd been waiting for this moment. And then she said it, right there in the school drop-off lane. "He's just saying what we're all thinking." I swear, time stopped. I watched them walk away, laughing like I was a joke. I drove to work in a daze. Don't remember the highway. Just remember parking, sitting in silence, and trying not to cry. That night, after slogging through my day job, I dragged myself home to find Julian gaming on the expensive PC I bought him for Christmas. Marissa acted like the morning didn't happen. When I brought it up, she shrugged. "He's a teenager. They say things." And when I asked about her own words, "You're too sensitive," she snapped. Later that night, at 2 a.m., I collapsed into bed after my night shift. She was still awake, scrolling her phone, looked at me like I was gum stuck to her heel, and muttered, "You're lucky I even married you." That was it. The switch flipped. I didn't yell, didn't pack a bag, just grabbed my pillow and went to sleep on the couch, where I lay in silence while they laughed upstairs. About me. 3 years. Over $50,000 poured into their lives. All those hours, all those sacrifices. For what? To be their live-in wallet? Their punchline? That night, I made a plan. Not a dramatic exit. Something better. Quiet. Thoughtful. Final. I opened a new bank account. Changed my direct deposit. Documented every penny I'd spent on them. I wasn't going to ask for gratitude anymore. I was going to disappear with a purpose. The first thing I did was stop feeding the machine. No more direct deposits to our joint account. I opened a new one at a different bank, one Marissa didn't even know existed, and rerouted my paycheck. That was 23 days ago. It took her 17 to even notice. 17. That's how little she paid attention to me, until the money stopped showing up. I also quietly quit my night shift. My supervisor at the warehouse, Miguel, didn't ask questions when I said I needed to step back for my health. He just clapped me on the back and told me to take care of myself. That night, instead of working, I drove to a 24-hour diner and sat for hours watching a show I'd meant to binge 2 years ago. First full 8 hours of sleep in months that night. My body felt like it finally exhaled. Marissa and Julian still thought I was out working. I'd kiss them goodbye, walk out the door, and go crash at Eric's or just take long, slow drives with no destination. They didn't notice I wasn't dragging myself home like a zombie anymore. Didn't notice how much more alert I seemed. Hell, they didn't even notice I'd stopped being around as much. The cracks began to spread fast. The first domino was the internet bill. I used to take care of all the utilities. They were in my name, and I always paid on time, until I didn't. Marissa texted me, "Internet's out. Julian needs it for homework. Did you pay the bill?" I waited 3 hours before replying. Must have slipped my mind. Long week. I'll get to it tomorrow. I didn't. The next day, she called me 7 times while I was at work. I ignored everyone. When I got home, the meltdown had already begun. The electric bill was past due. DoorDash declined her credit card. And suddenly, everything that had been invisible to her, the financial support, the structure, started to crumble. I played dumb. Said I'd been overwhelmed. Maybe she could pitch in this month? You'd think I asked her to donate a kidney. Then came Julian's orthodontist appointment. Marissa told me to transfer the usual $180. I told her I could only manage $90 this time. The other half she'd have to handle. Cue eruption. "You're backing out now? He needs those braces." I just said I was doing my best. That maybe she could cover it, just once. She lost her mind. Called me irresponsible. Said I didn't care about Julian. That I was breaking my promise. I stayed calm, let her rant, then handed Julian the $90 and left. What she didn't know was that I was actually going to meet a property manager about a small studio apartment on the other side of town. That night when I returned, all hell had broken loose. The orthodontist had turned Julian away for partial payment. Marissa had to borrow the rest from her sister, Felicia, who apparently was already tired of lending her money. The irony? No one asked where the money had gone. Why Marissa couldn't cover even $100. Why the woman who always had fresh manicures and new handbags suddenly couldn't keep the lights on. I didn't say a word. Just kept letting things fall apart, organically. That week, I rented the studio. Nothing glamorous, but clean, private, and mine. $700 a month. 1/3 of what I'd been pouring into that household. I slowly began moving out, bit by bit, box by box. Took the kitchen knives my mom gifted me. Took my PlayStation, some clothes, documents. They never noticed. Not even once asked. Then came the ambush. Felicia showed up while I was home and lit into me in the kitchen. Accused me of neglect. Said I was abandoning my family. I didn't yell. I just pulled out my spreadsheet. 3 years of data. Every bill. Every grocery run. Every car payment. $47,000 plus in expenses covered by me. Felicia went silent. Her eyes widened the further she scrolled. Then she asked the question even I'd been wondering. If Marissa hasn't been paying for any of this, what's she been doing with her money? Good question, Felicia. By now, I'd moved nearly everything. All that was left were a few clothes and my tools. I told them I had an early shift and left. Really, I was setting up my new place. I started cooking again. Actually sleeping. My blood pressure dropped. I reconnected with friends. Even joined a gym. Funny how much better life feels when you're not someone else's doormat. Then came the begging. Marissa texted, "Did you pay the electric bill? Julian has a project due. Can you fix the Wi-Fi? Car payments due. Can you cover it this month? No, how are you? No, we miss you. Just logistics. Demands." I didn't reply. Then Julian texted, "Mom's crying a lot. She yelled at me because I asked for lunch money. She says you abandoned us." For a second, guilt crept in. Then I remembered him slamming the car door. The words he used. The smirk on Marissa's face when she backed him up. He was old enough to understand what he was saying. Old enough to realize I was more than a wallet. But instead, he echoed her bitterness. So no, I wouldn't carry the guilt. Still, I started thinking about what kind of support I might offer, directly to Julian, not through her. But it would come with boundaries, rules, respect, because I wasn't going back. That door was closed, and they'd have to figure out how to survive without the man they'd treated like a joke for 3 years. 1 month into my quiet exit, the house started crumbling, and not just figuratively. Felicia told me the heat had gone out. Marissa couldn't afford the repair bill. Julian was staying with her parents while she figured things out, which, in Marissa's speak, meant waiting for someone else to fix it. I'd been living in the studio a few weeks by then. 400 square feet. A tiny bathroom, 1 hot plate, and a foldable dining table. But for the first time in years, I could breathe. No snide remarks about my cooking. No guilt tripping. No laughing behind closed doors. Just silence. Glorious, healing silence. Then the truth came out. Felicia met me for coffee. She looked haggard, like someone who hadn't slept in days. After a few awkward sips, she pulled out her phone and slid it across the table. Bank statements. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. Then I saw the name. Marcus. Dozens of transfers. Regular, every month. $800 here. $1,200 there. The same Marcus who Marissa swore was long gone. Her toxic ex, who she said had cheated, lied, and wrecked her life. Apparently, he wasn't as gone as I'd thought. Turns out, while I was busting my ass doing night shifts, Marissa was bankrolling his lifestyle. Car payments. Crypto scams. Weekend getaways. All while claiming we were broke. I just sat there, numb. I didn't even feel angry, not the hot kind, anyway. It was cold. A deep, bitter stillness. The kind of realization that makes you laugh and hate yourself at the same time. I'd spent years pouring everything I had into a family that never existed. Just a stage play with me as the understudy for a role I was never meant to keep. That night, I looked around my new place, my 1 plate, my 1 fork, the half-decorated walls, and smiled. It was mine. I wasn't a backup plan. I wasn't a provider to be used and discarded. I was free. 2 months after I left, I finally agreed to meet with them. We met at a neutral coffee shop. Marissa walked in first. No salon waves, no fake lashes, no designer bag. Just a hoodie and dark circles under her eyes. Julian followed, quieter than I'd ever seen him. They both looked small. They tried to speak at the same time. I let them. Apologies, excuses, desperation. I stayed quiet. Then I pulled out a folder from my bag, my spreadsheet, printed and highlighted. Every bill, every expense, every dime. Next to it, a breakdown of the Marcus transactions. Marissa's face fell like a house of cards. She didn't deny it, just stared at the paper like it might catch fire and burn the evidence. I didn't yell, didn't gloat. I just looked her in the eyes and said, "I'm filing for divorce next week. I'll be fair, but not generous." Her mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. Then I turned to Julian. I told him I wasn't coming back, not to the house or the relationship. But I offered him something, support on my terms. I'd help with school, with medical stuff, if he kept his grades up, stayed respectful, and understood something important. I owed him nothing. What I chose to give from this point on would be from compassion, not guilt. If he couldn't meet those terms, the help would stop. He nodded, quiet, ashamed, said sorry for everything. Said he was just repeating what his mom always said behind my back. That hit hard, not because it was new, but because it confirmed what I'd always suspected. She'd been poisoning him against me from the start. And yet, part of me still cared. For the boy, not the damage. I told him I hoped he'd grow into a man who chose better, who didn't take kindness as weakness. As for Marissa, she hasn't reached out since, not even to fight the divorce. I think she knows there's nothing left to save. It's been 3 months now. I sleep through the night. My blood pressure is normal. I lift weights 3 times a week, cook for myself, and watch whatever trash TV I feel like. I even took a weekend trip with Eric, just for the hell of it.